I want to go to New Zealand. A lot of debate over the weekend about, are we going hard enough? Are we going not hard enough? Or are we doing too much and stopping the economy? And can we find a middle way forward? Nick Rees, do you think we should be doing a Jacinda Ardern and shutting everything down, really everything down, for a 2-week period, or not?
Look, I do think there is benefits in going hard and early so that we can contain the spread of the virus and then allow our health and hospital system to gear up to respond properly. But I think the real nuance in all of this is going to come with how they wind back restrictions once the big investments have been made in the health system to be able to manage this. We shouldn't forget that in Australia, we're now up to 4,150 cases and there's been 16 deaths. So the mortality rate here in Australia, it's not 1%, it's less than half of 1%. That's what a good health system can do to help manage something like this.
That's because we haven't reached capacity in ventilators yet. I mean, that's the issue. Right now, where we're tracking against where the ventilators and the health system cope, we're underneath that line. And that's why we've got to get transmission down as much as we can, because the moment we tip over that line, we have too many people needing ventilators for the number of ventilators we have in the country. Then we start to look like places like Italy, Rita.
I just don't think we're going to go down the Italy path. I think we're better prepared. We've got greater resources. Yes, we've got just over 4,000 people who are confirmed cases, but only 28 need intensive treatment right now. Of course, that number is expected to increase as the infections increase. But I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that so far we have acted early. We are flattening the curve, and we've also got to consider the cost, not just the economic cost, but the human cost of completely shutting the economy for a prolonged period, because there's also a very much a human cost and lives on the line in that instance as well.
Right, both of you, I'd be keen for a response here, because I want to touch on this tonight, because locals in Wuhan have suggested this idea that only 3,500 Chinese out of Wuhan died of this virus is laughable. They're saying at least 42,000 people died in the city. And Rita, I remember back at the time when it was at its zenith in China, there was these satellite imagery maps of the crematoriums in Wuhan, and they were showing these white hot markings to say that they had been running them 24/7 for weeks on end. That's not disposing of 3,500 bodies, that's a hell of a lot more.
Oh, China's figures are pure fantasy, and I think everyone knows that. Iran's figures probably too. Totalitarian regimes that are all about saving face are typically not very honest with the world about what's actually happening in their countries, and a regime that lies about everything isn't going to be honest about this crisis. So they expelled foreign journalists in March. They've vanished video bloggers, tycoons who've been critical. We know they arrested doctors early on, so they have silenced people who've tried to warn others about what's really happening there, and to suggest that, oh no, we've got no more infections, or all the infections that we're now having are from people travelling from overseas, is just fanciful nonsense. And I think people around the world know that China's figures can't be trusted.
Yeah, well, I'll run out of time there, but we'll come back to that next week. It'll be a continuing theme, and thankfully, Josh Frydenberg and the Foreign Investment Review Board are going to look at our circumstances for the next 6 months at least, and lower all those thresholds so that we don't have foreign buyers come in and steal the assets, or sell or buy the assets of Australian businesses in distress. Anyway, have to leave it there. Thank you for your company tonight.